Hello, everyone. Welcome to this section of the MS-500 certification exam prep session. This section covers governance and compliance, which has few smaller sections according to the study guide. I will dive through each one of them. Uh, and this is me. My name is Zoe Song. I'm a CE based in Corning, New York, almost 15 years veteran at Microsoft, certified SharePoint master, and my first 12 years at Microsoft, I was a MCS consultant. All right, enough about myself. Before we dive into the actual knowledge points, I'll give you some general ideas for preparation according to my experience. So the first one is that the best resource for Office 365 ATP or security compliance related features, the best prep resource uh, would be the Workshop Plus Security and Compliance, the delivery content. Uh, I'm teaching those workshops. Uh, it's great. If you have access, that's actually clickable link. It's highly recommended you go through those content. If you're delivering them, great, but do not assume that you can simply pass the exam by knowing everything within that Workshop Plus, because Workshop Plus, the scope is much smaller than the MS-500. MS-500 will cover um, about at least 30% more. Just give you some examples. Um, the Microsoft Intune is in scope for the exam, but not covered by the Workshop Plus. So if you only rely on your knowledge from delivering that Workshop Plus, you will fail, because I know I will fail. Um, Also, the second point, lab practice is highly recommended. If you have chance, time to do so, do it, especially for your weak points. And there are uh, classes available. We have a online class for free, and there are paid instructor lead classes. I never took them, but I assume it will help you a lot if you're not familiar with certain topics. To help you on the actual test questions, many of them, almost 50% of the test questions are based on case studies. Those questions those cases are not necessarily set up as the real world samples. So some of the settings are not really make sense. Uh, if you are like a hands-on guy and delivered many real world uh, projects, you're like, why is that? But it is what it is, and it had pay attention. So if a case study is very similar to what you have done, don't assume it's exactly the same, because you may make wrong assumptions and picking wrong answers. So pay attention to the details. And that's one thing. And also it will ask you about integration between on-prem online products, and sometimes even third-party products. So keep in mind, sometimes those the case studies in the exam could be complicated. Um, Also, when you pick the answers, sometimes it could be confusing, because those candidates, sometimes two of them, or even three of them, are making sense, or it's like, oh, I would do either one of them. So always choose the simplest solution. If a solution is only uh, setting at one place, the other one requires setting on multiple places, that one place setting solution is the answer. And practice, practice, and practice, and you will be able to pass the exam by practicing lab and also practicing the sample exams. All right, enough for this content. Let's dive into the actual knowledge points. Configure and analyze security reporting. This one is pretty straightforward. We have security dashboard, and over there you will have access to information about the security score, and most importantly, you will, or this system will generate the actions that you can take. And once you take those actions, you can, it's like it's a small project management system or task management system. So you can assign it to users, and you can change status, you can mark it complete, give it a date, things like that. So once you're done with a change, your score will improve. This one is for the security score, secure score, and manage and analyze other logs. Also pretty straightforward. Not a whole lot of trick they can play. Uh, um, so Office 365 or Microsoft 365 has audit database. Most of the content or actions are being audited, and the retention time is different. E3 is 90 days, E5 is a year. They're extending it to 5 years. And there are ways that you can connect third-party tools with our audit database. So basically, we can offload the audit data to somewhere else and keep it longer over there. That's a pretty common practice at real-world customers. And also, of course, you can search audit log if it's still in the database. And you can also set up alerts. So alert you can set up based on different audit events. And you can also send like every time something's happening, or you can group them by like send to admins every 15 minutes, like twice a day, things like that. So that's the audit log alert. Okay. Manage data governance and retention. So this one is big. They can play many tricks, ask you different questions. So this is mainly retention policies, retention labels, a little bit supervisory policies. It's been extended, called communication compliance, which they basically added teams communication. Information barrier in place, litigation holds. I'm not quite sure why they still include litigation hold in the exam, because we want to deprecate it, but it is what it is. So if you're an exchange guy, this shouldn't be too too much for you. But if you're not familiar with exchange, litigation hold, in place hold, could be something new. You can just go through those articles and practice them in your lab. You also need to know where to find those retained content, how to get them back. They will ask you questions about those. Archiving, third-party data, and unlimited email archiving is also included in the scope, and inactive mailbox management, that's also included. So it could be tricky. So you need to go through those content carefully. And some information, I put together this one. This is a comparison sheet between the retention policies and retention labels. There are actually some significant differences between retention policies and retention labels. Some things you can only achieve with one of them. So for example, retention policies are invisible to end users. Labels are visible. Retention policies can only be applied automatically. Labels, manual, and automate automatic apply labels would require additional license. That's a different story. Like a label only option is only available for labels. Duh. And the retention period for labels, you have the starting point can be a label is applied, and also event-based label. It's only available when you use labels. Also, advanced options are supported for both retention policies and automated retention labels. Disposition review and records management, those two features are only available if you use labels. That could be tricky. And retention policies, you can have multiple ones against the same content, same item. That's okay. Retention label, you can only have one at a time. And don't confuse about retention policy and retention label policy. Retention policy is retention policy. Retention label policy is basically a policy to group labels. So retention label policy is label. All right, real quick. This is where you can find those deleted items. In Exchange, it's called Recoverable Items folder. 14 days, it will be permanently purged after the retention period. In SharePoint OneDrive, preservation hold library, 93 days. In Teams, this is brand new. It's substrate holds folder. It will be purged real quick, lightning fast comparing to Exchange and SharePoint. This one you also have to remember. This is when you have multiple retention policies applying to the same content or multiple automated retention label policy applying to the same content. This is how the system will determine which policy will take place. Retention always wins over deletion. Longest retention policies wins over shorter retention policies. It will always honor the menu selection. So if an item already been labeled manually, auto label will not change that. If everything is deletion policy, then the shortest deletion period will win. Okay, I have to speed up because I only have 15 minutes time. All right, next one. This one is for mainly EDiscovery, content search, and EDiscovery. If you're not familiar with EDiscovery, there's a lot of things that you have to learn. For EDiscovery configuration in Office 365, Microsoft 365, there are two different permission levels: reviewer and the EDiscovery manager. EDiscovery manager is designed for the admins, so you can assign members to EDiscovery manager group or reviewer group, and from there you can create new cases, close cases, delete cases, and the reviewers will be, and you can also put content on hold, and reviewers will go there and do research and do search, and export the search results and or the entire case data results. This is the relationship between the three pieces of EDiscovery. Content search, which is basically EDiscovery without a case. You cannot put things on hold. And core EDiscovery, that's basic EDiscovery, advanced EDiscovery on top of that. And next slide, this is the difference between core EDiscovery and advanced EDiscovery. Core EDiscovery, very basic, but it's available for E3 customers. With E5 or advanced EDiscovery add-on, you will be able to do more. Compliance boundary, different locations, different ways to set up boundary. They're all from this one except SharePoint. That's basically a pattern, and this is the PowerShell to set it up. And you also have to create custom security groups to use the boundaries. And this one, this is for GDPR. And this is the GDPR dashboard. It's very similar to the Secure Score. It's just use different rules to generate different scores and different action items. So nothing really fancy over there. And you take actions, you get scores. And this is the DSR. We're out of time, but this is also pretty straightforward. Nothing really tricky to it. And I covered maybe 5% for the actual knowledge base, but if you carefully go through the content and do practices, especially if you're not really familiar with some of them, you should be able to pass the exam. All right, good luck.